Recently, our client Tommy met his banker to discuss continuing his father's restaurant legacy. In us, he found a partner that understood the importance of passing the torch. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Tommy.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis, a podcast dedicated to the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hey everybody, it's Wednesday, and we thought we would hop on and keep going with these dates. There's some other news to talk about as well, but we took the day off yesterday, and it was kind of weird.
Yeah. Like I answered some questions and stuff, but not really looking at anything in the case.
Yeah, I answered a few questions on Twitter and things like that, but largely avoided any Vallow Daybell news for the most part.
Yeah, but you had exciting time with your oldest.
Yeah, my daughter is 15, and she's going this week to get her driver's permit.
Clear the road.
Oh, gosh, yeah, more ways than one. So I sent you a video of what I was experiencing.
It was classic.
Oh, my gosh. So we're driving, and for the most part, she's driven around, just parking lots and that sort of thing. So my neighborhood doesn't have a whole lot of traffic, so I thought I would get her out and let her take a spin around the neighborhood a few times.
But your neighborhood has mailboxes.
Oh, my gosh. So apparently she does not like me telling her or being the one to instruct her how to drive. Apparently I yell too much. But good grief, she was literally hugging that curb so much. I couldn't have rolled down my window and stuck my arm out. I would have had my arm broken on a mailbox. She was inches away from the curb. She was scared to death.
Maybe she's training to be a mail lady.
Well, I don't know. I need Valium.
The video was classic.
Oh my gosh. So we're driving and a car comes up behind her and she's like, oh my gosh, there's a car. And I'm just looking at her and I say, Taylor, yeah, when you drive, there are going to be other cars. She was so nervous. I don't have high hopes for this.
Yeah, it was classic funny. There was one time a car I think was coming, like, let's say you were at a four-way stop. I mean, I know it wasn't a four-way stop. That's what it looked like. And the car was coming like to the left and she was like, oh, there's a car.
Yeah. She has this dream in her head that she's just going to be on the roads by herself with room to, freak out. And I'm just, I had coffee in my hand, of course. And a couple of times because she tapped those brakes so hard. Thank goodness it wasn't hot. Spilled my lap.
She's going to need the Seinfeld, the Kramer lanes. I don't know if you remember that episode.
Yeah.
Where he does the luxury lanes. That's what she's going to need.
Oh, man. It was painful. But yeah, she told me I was the worst driving coach ever. And from now on, her dad could take her. And I was like,
Sarah
whatever.
was in the back. And it was funny. Her face was like she had fun. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because Sarah's 9 and she's like, get away from the curb. You're going to hit the mailbox. And yes, it was it was crazy. I'm still not over it. And she didn't ask me to go driving today, but yes, she don't like me taking her. Whatever. Got to be with your dad.
Well, at least she was in a cool car. So.
Yeah, she was in a very cool car.
Yeah.
But we got a long way to go. Thank goodness that restricted, she doesn't have to take a road test. I mean, I can't imagine when she's taking a road test with somebody. Oh my God, there are cars on the road.
That would have to be one of the most stressful jobs, I would think, is the guy who gives or the lady who gives the road test.
Don't they have the oh my God brake on their side? Where
they got brakes.
Yeah, they're going to need that with her. But yeah, so that was my day. Was drive. Well, it didn't last long. It was like 3 laps, and she's like, "You stink at this. You yell too much. Let's go home." Yeah. So we came home. But yeah, so today there were a couple of motions filed for some discovery. This kind of has already happened. I think it was the first set of charges, I believe. And when they dropped those and now we're going up to a different court, they essentially asked for the same stuff. But Rob Wood, the prosecutor, filed discovery today for both Chad and Lori. So what's he asking for? We're just going to run through these really quickly. Copies of all books, papers, documents, photos, communications, tangible objects, buildings, or places of importance. He wants copies or results of physical or mental evaluations and scientific tests or experiments which the defendant intends to produce at the trial or which she intends to call. A list of all the witnesses that is intended to be called, and then a written notice of the defendant's intention to offer a defense alibi, stating a specific place or places she claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense and the names and addresses of witness who can validate that alibi, and name, address, number, and the CV of any and all expert witnesses. And then she has to notify the state within 14 days if she intends to raise an issue of mental condition and if she expects to call expert witnesses. So pretty much the same for both Chad and Lori with what he filed today. And then Mark Means also filed for discovery.
Yeah, it looks like a mandatory disclosure of evidence and material by prosecution, general evidence of other crimes, wrongs, or acts intended to be introduced at trial, any relevant written, recorded, oral statements made by defendant in possession of the state. Some of these are like,
Yeah.
Written or recorded oral statements by co-defendant.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah. So in other words, he wants to know what Chad is saying.
Yeah. Is he rolling?
Well, look, I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Means and Pryor are talking. They both know the angles at which they're both going. I mean, I know it's not what you're supposed to do, but they share a building.
Yep. So then you have written list of state's witnesses and expert witnesses, police reports, digital media recordings, right to request further disclosure, and then Means filed for a motion for extension to motion to transfer to trial 60 days after initial arraignment date of 8/27, now set for September 10th.
Yeah, and all he's saying there is since her date was moved up, it was originally for 8/27. Now they've rescheduled it for 9/10. That was done. Was it yesterday?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
So they're just extending that 60 days so it doesn't start on the 27th.
Yeah. And this went out, and this caused an uproar on Facebook for a while, or social media for a while. It was the where they submitted to allow the streaming of the hearings. Or the arraignments or whatever, and everybody got confused because it said denied. But like they're saying they're going to be live streamed like they have been, and just the way it looked like he denied that.
Yeah.
So everybody was like in an uproar.
I think what it is that was I think maybe East Idaho News had asked to record it, and I think that was why it was denied, is because they're just doing the court has their own YouTube channel, and so they're just pulling everybody in there.
Yep. So
kind of it's all standard stuff. Chad's hearing is on Friday, going to be super quick. I wouldn't really make a point to watch it. But that, I will for our podcast, but it's just going to be really quick. I guess, hey, there's always the chance Chad could plead guilty, although I don't see that happening.
Nope.
So he'll be in and out. And on the last podcast, we talked about Fruit Loop. You were talking about the app from JJ's school and how Lori was accessing that at random times throughout when she was in Hawaii.
Yep.
And what we did today was we went through and looked at the dates surrounding when she accessed the app to see if there was anything big that had happened that would make her maybe want to hop on. And in my theory, see what people were saying, or in your theory. What in the
Theory.
world? I said theory.
Theory.
I am Southern. I'm not that Southern.
That's really,
My
really
tongue
Southern.
just went on a little quick vacation.
You sound like you were saying, remember those drinks we used to get that were Slurpees?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if y'all had Slurpees where you are, but we had Slurpees. It was like ice and Kool-Aid together.
It wasn't no Kool-Aid. It was just like straight up
It was
sugary
sugar.
syrup.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So gross.
That's what I thought you said, Slurpee.
Theory. It sounds like you're saying sorry. Theory.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, whatever. So, Fruitly, we were looking at these dates, and 9/7 is the day. That's the day before Tylee is last seen.
Yep.
So that day she checks the app at JJ school.
Yeah. And then on November 21st, there's really nothing major. Nothing major there.
No, there wasn't really anything of importance.
And then on 12/9, on 12/6, the search warrant was served on JJ school.
Yep.
So we talked about that.
So on the 9th, that search warrant was on the 6th. On the 9th, she accessed the app.
Yeah. 12/20,
Mm-hmm.
Rexburg PD announces an investigation. That was when they did the press release, I think.
Yeah, and she checked it that day.
Yep. 1/8, January 8th. On the 7th, Kay and Larry announced that $20,000 reward, which we discussed. And then the 31st, she accessed it. And on the 30th, that's when she was supposed to produce the kids. And Lori retained an attorney in Hawaii.
Yeah, so that day she kind of knew. Check the app. I didn't produce the kids. Yeah, and then I retained an attorney. It's just like, geez.
Yeah. Yep.
So the school told Justin Lum from Fox 10 Phoenix on the day that they cut it off, or the statement they gave, it says, "We cannot speculate as to why Lori or someone using her accounts or electronics would continue to follow the classroom or our organization during this time frame." So obviously it creeped them out a little bit too.
Yep.
He's not a student there. Yeah, it totally stinks, but
Yeah.
So where we left off on the last podcast was around the time where Alex Cox died. And if you guys remember, everybody left Rexburg kind of at the same time. Everybody went and got married. And then Alex's, not even 2 weeks after he got married, he died. Isn't that right? It was really short after.
Yeah, I think he was married like 11 or 12 days maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're just going to run through the 911 call for when Alex was found in the bathroom, and not going to get like super detailed into it, but just the one observation I've made, because I've been going back and re-listening to phone calls and 911 calls and body cam footage and all that. Anytime these people call 911, there is no sense of urgency.
Yeah, it's like ice in the veins.
I mean, okay, so I know that this Joseph kid is Zulima's son from a previous marriage, and he's the one that found Alex, and he calls 911. And yeah, he was just like, yeah, his name's Alex. Just so nonchalant.
Yeah.
I'm not insinuating anything, but I'm just saying, if somebody's on my bathroom floor and they have lost control of their bodily functions, I'm not going to be so calm.
Yeah.
Maybe people handle things differently, but yeah, there's just, I want to hear the 911 call from when Tammy Daybell was found.
Yeah. They hadn't released that one.
They have not.
Yeah.
So, Fruitly, why don't you tell us what Alex was complaining of?
Okay. So we know he was complaining of shortness of breath, burning in his chest, and chest pain for about a week before he died. And that started around December 6th is what they are claiming.
Yeah.
So the 911 call came in at 3:20 p.m. And you said it was who?
It's Joseph, which is Zulima's son, who I think is kind of in his mid-20s.
Yeah. So he says there's an older male here, and his name is Alex. He's just passed out here on my bathroom. So he's saying floor.
Yeah, yeah. And then the dispatch asks if he's unconscious. Joseph says yes. And dispatch asks, is he breathing normally? Can you see his chest rise and fall? And Joseph says, I hope so. And then the dispatch asks for Alex's age, and Joseph said he's in his 40s.
Yeah. This next part is what gets me.
Yeah.
Dispatch asks, do you know him? And he answers, it's my mother's boyfriend.
Yeah.
So that's really weird.
Yeah. They've been married at this point for almost 2 weeks, and just very weird that they're living in the same house, apparently, or at least he's there with Alex.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend.
Maybe they didn't tell they were married. I don't know.
It's just weird. Everything in this case is weird, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Unless he was living off somewhere and didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But
Yeah.
you would think if mom got married and she was proud about it, she would say, hey, I got married.
You would think so.
Yeah, and tell you his last name, which would have been easy because he took her last name. So apparently they didn't tell Joseph anything.
Yeah, exactly. So Joseph says he's on his side. Dispatch asks him to put him flat on his back. He says there's feces there, and I'm trying to keep cool right now.
Yeah. If you go listen to that 911 call, he was not having it. It was almost like Alex's response when the dispatch asked him to do CPR on Charles. It was kind of like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to do that.
It was really kind of the same here. And so then you hear Joseph say, Alex, we got to get you on your back. Dispatch asks if he's awake or asleep, and then Joseph responds that he's more passed out. He's breathing. And then the dispatch asks if he's making any weird sounds, and Joseph says he's making an exhale sound, like woo. I don't know how woo is supposed to go, but it says woo.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could just be, like a constricted airway. I don't know.
Yeah. So dispatch tells him to start CPR. And then he says, and this is right what Alex said, I don't think I can do that. He says he can't do it a few times.
Yeah, right. So what does he say? Yo, Alex.
He's not breathing.
But I thought that yo, Alex.
Yeah. So he's trying to wake him up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
See, we had to take CPR. I guess they don't do that now. You remember we had to take medical stuff, whatever. We had CPR and like PE and stuff.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So I guess they don't do that now.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, like health class.
Especially not with COVID. They aren't going to let these little kids put their mouth all over.
That's true. So then dispatch says lay him on his back.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Joseph says he can't because Alex is too big. I just don't understand any of this.
No, and I mean, okay,
I think he was trying not to get in the poop.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a funny thing. I mean, it happens after death sometimes.
Yeah,
everything relaxes, and if you have stuff, it comes out. I mean, he's a young man in his early 20s. It's for a mom, it's like, okay, well, that's what we do every day is deal with that stuff. But I think for a young man, I mean, we don't know what he was feeling, but I mean, he wasn't going to touch him.
Yeah. I can honestly say, and I can say this on several different things about myself, I'm a germaphobe. That kind of stuff. Like, I'm like, But you get into a different frame of mind when someone is in trouble or dying.
Yeah.
I would think I would. I think that draws a line, and you're like, I don't care what I got to do. I've got to help this person.
Right.
Just my opinion.
It could be. And then you may just have people that freeze. I mean, it's just, you know, but no, I'm with you. It's kind of like the natural human thing would be to try everything you can to bring that person, you know, at least to a point to where paramedics can take over.
Yeah. Yep. So
At this point, Zulema comes into the house. I don't think she was in there when he was found.
yeah.
And so he yells, come here, it's really bad. Come upstairs in the bathroom. And then he's telling Zulema, we need to get him on his back.
Yep. And dispatch tells Zulema to get him on his back to start CPR. Zulema says she knows how to do it. Ask how far out they are. Dispatch says they're out front now. Zulema says they're on the second floor. Dispatch asks Alex's last name. Joseph said he doesn't know.
Yeah. So we obviously, I think Alex was alive when they took him to the hospital. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and check, but I think when they got there, maybe he had a pulse.
I mean, it sounded like he was still breathing.
Yeah. And I'm not sure at what point they declared him dead, whether it was on the way to the hospital or the hospital. So then we cracked open the autopsy report. And again, Fruit Loop and I have a little bit of a difference of opinion on this autopsy.
Yep.
We're finding things now we don't agree with, which is okay. It's a healthy conversation. We can debate stuff and not start screaming.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with them saying that his death was natural. And I know it's super suspicious, and I know it smells really rotten, but I showed this autopsy report to a physician today and didn't really tell him anything about what was going on. And he read through the autopsy and said, oh, well, I mean, it makes sense. He said, you know, he had some underlying heart issues. Now, I did tell him that there was immeasurable amounts of stress probably on this person for about 24 hours before he died. And he thought that fit. So, but what's your, and I get it. It's suspicious, but Fruit Loop, what's your stance?
If this was the only death and this was like one thing, then I would be like, okay.
Yeah.
For me, there's too much tied into him and everybody else that I know they ruled it natural and they said, you know, whatever it was. I don't know how to pronounce those words. They're so big, but
essentially bilateral lung clots. Bilateral means both sides. So on both sides of his lungs, he had clots.
Yeah. Well, I could read that one. I meant the arteriosclerosis. Those are big words.
I'm sorry. I just didn't know if you could handle
No,
bilateral.
I could handle bilateral lung clots. I got that one. But it was arteriosclerosis.
There you go. Good
yeah,
girl.
I have hypertension and I don't know whatever that is, but anyways, so I get those two words.
So arterial sclerosis is kind of like a hardening of the arteries. It's and it narrows your arteries, so it just increases your chance of like heart attack or stroke.
Yeah. And I totally get all that, like I do, but it's just everything wrapped up into this is like, no, I still go, they send him the macadamia nuts. I'm just saying.
Hey, I mean, I'm like 60-40. I'm 60% sure this is probably the only coincidence in this whole mess. But there's that part of me that thinks, it's a little too convenient, but yeah, I mean, the autopsy just didn't have anything other than just natural disease progression. But the disclaimer on the autopsy report says, as with all death investigations, opinions expressed herein are subject to change should new, reliable, and pertinent information come to light. And we know they haven't closed the investigation. They made very clear when they released this autopsy that it was still under investigation.
Yeah, and I remember when they put that out there because we were waiting on that, and they put it out, and we were like, oh.
Yeah.
But then they were like, it's still open.
Right.
So I was like, that was sticking your tongue out at Lori saying,
right,
this is what it is right now, but it's still open.
Very true. And I mean, if they say that there was something amiss and this was not a natural death, I'm not going to fall over from shock.
Yeah.
So essentially, going through the autopsy, Zulema said he wasn't taking any medications. And one of the big things that a lot of people had mentioned was that he did have a measurable amount of Narcan in his system. And so Narcan is what they give people who have overdosed, and it can kind of reverse the effects of that overdose. And a lot of people could not understand why Alex had Narcan in his system.
Yeah. Now, this is just me. This is my brain.
Oh boy, brace yourself, people.
Yeah. So, wouldn't there, I mean, do they just inject? And I've got a friend who's a paramedic, and I should ask him this question, but wouldn't you think there would be something there that caused them to think he could have OD'd?
No, I mean, it's kind of standard. I think if you go into a home or you're responding to a call and that person is just unconscious, the thing with Narcan is if you have overdosed, it could save your life. If you have not overdosed, there's no harm, no foul in giving it. So it could just be that right when they roll up, they don't know what's going on. This person's unconscious. Let's assume maybe he's overdosed. And that way they've covered that base should it have been an overdose and you don't miss time.
Huh.
So it's really standard if somebody is unconscious just to administer Narcan just in case. But if they haven't overdosed, it doesn't affect anything. There's not really a negative, if you understand what I'm saying.
I just think it's a waste of money.
Well, if it saves
Kind of, sort of.
Well, if it saves a life, if you don't know why somebody's laid out on the floor and struggling to stay alive, it just these days with how big of a problem narcotics are. I'm sure they just have over the years seen such an increase in overdoses, and Narcan is kind of one of the ways you reverse those effects and save a life. So I think in the grand scheme of things, if they can shoot somebody up with Narcan and it's not an overdose, at least you sort of check that box of things you did that could have made a difference.
Sure. I understand.
Yeah. But I'm sure, you know how medical costs are. I mean, I'm sure one dose of Narcan is like $100,000.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's just, but it's just kind of a standard thing they do when somebody's unconscious.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, Alex seemed, other than his heart issues, he had a polyp in his stomach. He had some benign masses on his liver, an enlarged prostate, which is usually age related. And he had caffeine in his system, but that was really kind of it for the autopsy. There wasn't a whole lot there.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to jump back into these dates that we left off on, which was, of course, when Alex died. And so on the 30th of December, police announced that Lori and Chad are persons of interest in the kid's disappearance.
Yep. And then that's when Melanie Gibb records, she actually records that phone call December 8th, is when she does that phone call.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So it was a little bit before, anyways, it was December 8th, when she calls, because they were in Hawaii. She called.
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
Yep.
Yeah. So we jumped back a little bit right there. On January the 3rd of this year, the FBI and Rexburg police execute a search warrant at Chad and Tammy Daybell's house. And they go inside the house, and they're out front with metal detectors. And they took 43 items of interest. Among that was electronic devices, journals, medication, papers, and this search warrant was only for Tammy's death, I believe. This had nothing to do with the kids.
Yeah, I know my theory on the metal detectors.
What's your theory?
I think they were looking for bullet casings from when she thought she was shot at with a paintball gun.
Oh, yeah.
She thought it was paintball. I think they were looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember the video show them with the metal detectors in the snow, because they're trying to detect in the snow.
It's really weird to watch footage of that search warrant now, because it's like where the kids are.
Yeah.
And they're so close.
Oh,
but
I know.
at that point, we don't know when they really started picking up on these pings and putting Alex there and stuff. I mean, it's so cold there. I guess even if they had any kind of a inkling the kids were on that property, I guess the ground being frozen would stop them from really being able to pursue that.
Yeah, I mean, they took, I want to say it was like rakes, and were raking the snow back, looking, like looking around that tree in the front and stuff. So
Yeah, but I did not know that was just for Tammy. That had nothing to do with the kids
yeah,
and her death. But at that point, I mean, you've got Charles Vallow shot and killed. The kids are missing at this point, and Tammy dies, and then you've got Alex dying. So I mean, I'm sure at this point they're just starting like from the beginning with doing what they probably should have done when she died.
oh yeah,
I mean, yeah,
most
so.
definitely. So then on January 6th, you have Kay and Larry interviewed by Rexburg PD.
Yep. And then on the next day, on January the 7th, Melanie Pulowski, she has her court appearance for trespassing on her father-in-law's property, which resulted in her being arrested, and Alex bailed her out.
Yeah, and that is the only 911 call that we've heard where somebody was irate and like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
you're right. It's with that one, her dad, not her dad, his dad sounded really terrified.
yeah.
But at that point, you have to understand, not only is Melanie there, Alex is there. And they know at this point, Alex has shot and killed Charles Vallow and, is suspected of shooting at Brandon.
Yeah.
So I bet his terror came across in his voice. She was there twice.
Yeah.
Two different days.
And they were in his garage.
Oh, that's scary.
So he's yelling.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we can link that somewhere.
Yeah. I'll do it on Facebook and Twitter. Okay. For just a second about the YouTube. We have decided that it may take a little longer to get these up on YouTube because we're going to start incorporating pictures and videos as we talk, just so on the screen you see what we're talking about, and it just maybe helps with the context. But where was I going with this?
We were talking about putting a link on Twitter and Facebook for that 911
Yeah.
call.
I don't really know how to put links on Twitter unless we put them in like the channel description. So anything that we actually link will be on YouTube or Twitter. I mean, Facebook or Twitter.
Yep.
YouTube, we're just going to, instead of seeing the same graphic for the whole podcast, we are going to sort of make it more personal to that specific podcast.
Yep. And I think you can put a link in the description. On YouTube.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll put some links out with a little short description beside it so that you can click and see these things.
Because we know some of you don't have Twitter or Facebook, so.
But you should get them because it's fun.
Yeah. Yep. So then you have again after the 7th, Melanie Pulowski's court appearance, you have on the 8th, Lori accesses the school app again. And then you have Melanie Pulowski interviewed by Rexburg authorities on the 14th. So January 14th.
Mm-hmm. Now, on January 25th, Lori is served by Madison County with a child protection order, and that's where she was told to produce JJ and Tylee in Rexburg within 5 days, which was the 30th. That was the deadline they gave her, January 30th. For me, I was looking at these dates, and I know investigations have to happen, and you have to have probable cause. It's just kind of hard to think that the kids were reported missing on the 26th, and it wasn't until January 30th that they were told to produce them. And I know that's just because investigations take time.
Yep.
But it's crazy to think that from November 26th until February, she just got to go wherever. It just, it's not law enforcement's fault. It just seems so weird to me that these kids we know now were dead. But at the time, I really thought they were, or you thought they were in a bunker.
Yeah.
But for months, they just go to Hawaii, they go island hopping, and it isn't until January 30th that deadline passes.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you think, what was everybody else doing? Like
Yeah.
where's Alex's pings going to show? And I hope they show all this.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I hope we just get a detail of everything of where their phones pinged.
I think we will.
Yeah, I hope so. So, January 26th, a search warrant is served on Chad and Lori for the rental car and the condo They recovered JJ's iPad, his second iPad that was logged into JJ's iCloud account, birth certificates for both kids, school receipts from Kennedy Elementary in Rexburg, Tylee's bank card with Social Security money on them, Tylee's cell phone. This is also the day that Nate Eaton asked them for several minutes about the location of the kids. And one thing I wanted to point out was that I thought it was good that Detective Hermosillo, he was there for all that.
Yeah, I didn't know he was there for that.
Yeah, he said it in the courtroom. He didn't participate, but he was actually there when they served the search warrant on the rental car and the condo and all that.
Well, that's their case. Rexburg's
Yeah.
definitely going to have somebody there to make sure things are going okay. I mean, I guess the last thing you want is for a mistake to be made on like Hawaii's end, and then that could, compromise something. I don't know.
Yeah. And Nate's interview with them as they're walking, it is so
Dude, Nate was
Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
literally just
He was
unrelenting.
on it. He was on it.
He's like, I have 3 kids. I know where they are every minute of every day. I was like, you go, Nate.
Exactly. And their response and their expressions is,
She said, that's great.
yeah.
And this little school
And he's like,
innocent
that's
boy-
great.
Yeah. No, Nate's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate was on. That was like, I think that was the first time I ever saw Nate. And I was like, this dude is hardcore. He is not going to let them walk away.
Yeah.
It was like 5 minutes.
And then he gets into the cash. You got a lot of cash in that bag there. Yeah. Yeah. So Tylee's debit card had been used since her death. Lori logged in a total of 5 times to JJ's school app from Arizona after his disappearance.
Just crazy.
So,
yeah. On January 28th, Justin Lum reports that a neighbor of Chad and Lori said the lights were on in the condo and he saw them around 9 p.m. on the 28th, but they left during the night. They're good at that, like picking up, moving in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And they went to Kauai Beach Resort. And then the next day on the 29th, that's when Kay and Larry filed court documents to get the emergency custody of JJ in the event he's found.
Yeah.
That was the saddest thing to see that update where that was dismissed. This was right after. Actually, it was dismissed a day or two before
Yeah.
their remains were found. But it was so sad to see that that was dismissed. I mean, it just, I think that Kay and Larry held out some hope that they would be found and he would go home with them.
Yep. Yep. So January 30th, Lori fails to produce the kids to Rexburg. Kay and Larry waited there all day in Rexburg. Lori retains a local attorney in Hawaii. She also accesses JJ's app again, and then again on the 31st.
Yeah. So the 30th was a big day. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess she just sees what the chatter is.
Yep.
So on February the 2nd, Chad and Lori go to church in Kauai. Now, I didn't know this, but Lori's records were transferred to this ward. Her kids' records were not. And she told the bishop, her and Chad both told the bishop that this is one-sided. The media is making up stuff. I can't believe they went and sat in a place of worship with all this going on, knowing what they know.
Yeah.
What we didn't know at that point. Chad never had his records sent. I don't think I just said that.
No, you didn't.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's like they try to they try to get people on their side. So we know he told Christopher Parrott the same thing, that it's all misunderstanding. The kids are fine, you know, da-da-da-da-da.
Well, yeah, but, you know, the other day I don't know if you were here when I read that post that Parrott had put up in defense of Chad and Lori. And I mean, he was super smart in it, like smart aleck, and was saying that this is all a mess. And, you know, in other words, we don't need to doubt Chad and Lori. And I was like, you know, I mean, didn't he make a statement after Chad was arrested that where he kind of tried to he admitted that he was fooled.
Oh yeah. He went into major detail telling everybody he apologized, that he was fooled, he was lied to, all that stuff.
You know, that didn't hold a lot of water with me because somebody like that says they were fooled. Okay. But still at the end of the day, you've got 2 dead spouses. The kids are missing. They're not cooperating. And Parrott's just like, okay, I trust you.
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Nope. Me either. So February 4th, Lori accesses JJ School app, views a post the school made. The same day, Life Academy realizes that Lori had been accessing the app, and they they removed her off of that. So they took access away from Lori.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was a little creepy for the school.
Yeah.
To know that she was still looking long after the kids were not seen.
Yep.
So on February the 4th, East Idaho News, they show that initial footage from the storage unit. And on that same day, Zulema files a probate case in Maricopa County for Alex. So I'm curious to see if he had a life insurance policy.
Yeah, that seems to be a question out there.
Seems like everybody had one. According to Lori, she had a $2 million one that her brother was going to kill her for. And not the killer brother, like the one that's normal.
Yeah. Yep. So on February 9th, Chad and Lori are seen at church again, holding hands going in.
Yep. And on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day, Dateline airs the very first Where Are the Children episode, which was, that was a really good episode.
Yeah.
All the Datelines on this have been great.
Yeah. And we have a link to those on our website, by the way.
Yes, we do.
If you need to find them.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 16th, February 16th, Chad and Lori leave the beach resort they had been staying in.
Yep. They go back to Kauai on the 18th, and that's the day that law enforcement served the search warrant at the storage locker in Rexburg. And the criminal complaint against Lori is finally filed by Madison County, which were the initial charges that have since been dropped, the 2 felony counts of desertion. These are still there, resisting or obstructing officers, criminal solicitation to commit a crime. That's for asking Melanie Gibb to lie about her having JJ, and then contempt of court for not bringing the kids to be, on the 30th to Rexburg.
Yep. So then on February 20th, Lori is arrested that afternoon. News articles start linking Joe Ryan, Charles, and Tammy Daybell with JJ and Tylee.
Yeah, so when she was arrested, it was kind of like everybody was starting to get mentioned in those articles as sort of like, cases of interest associated around the missing kids.
Yep.
I'm sure law enforcement, when they got that very first welfare check call, man, they had no idea that day what they were about to open.
Yeah. And I wonder if they, when all this hit, did the original ones, in Gilbert and Chandler go like, oh, uh-oh.
Whoops.
Uh-oh.
We got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So February 21st, Lori is seen in court for the first time in Hawaii. It was like a 15-minute hearing, and that was when her bail was set at $5 million.
Yeah, and she looked so mad the whole time.
I tweeted and put on Facebook today pictures of her immediately when when the judge said $5 million. So we're just going to go through a few of the arguments that was made at that hearing. Her lawyer said that Hawaii should determine the bail, not Idaho.
Yeah, and they said it should be a $500,000 bail. It's only a couple of felonies.
No big deal, just a couple of felonies. She has, and then her defense attorney says she has a residence on the island and that Chad's in Hawaii, so that's less reason to flee.
that they stayed in Hawaii after she was initially contacted in January about the case.
And she says she informed her defense attorney when she was going to Maui for travel. She had retained that attorney in Hawaii, if you remember.
Yep. She was arrested, and the media was calling us all day. He accuses police of staging the arrest for media.
Yeah, he went there. His argument was they had offered to produce Lori to authorities if that was how they wanted to do it. And they just got her. There's the pictures. We'll put it on the YouTube so you guys can see. But, the picture of her in the flowered yoga pants with her hands behind her back. And, I thought that was a really funny argument because she got arrested. She's a person that's wanted, and they arrested her. And he's like, oh, this was a production.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get to choose when you get arrested when you're, a fugitive.
I mean, honestly, look, she's fled before.
Right.
How can you trust her?
And that's what the attorney actually brought up, the prosecutor. He said the statement, and he names him, the statement from Joe Ryan is that Lori will flee when custody or, when it's an issue.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So then they argue the charges didn't warrant the $5 million bail. He says there's no death penalty or life with charges. So, I mean, they claim that from the get-go, that the bail money didn't match the charges.
Well, I mean, I'm not an attorney, but from what I've seen and what I understand, he did his job. I mean, yeah, the charges that she was facing is kind of the same as when Edens reduced that bail eventually in Rexburg from $5 million to $1 million. Everybody got really upset, understandably. If you don't follow trials a lot, you think she's getting off. But with the charges she faced, the bail was excessive. And that's all her attorney was arguing. It's not excessive to me because we know the risk. We know what's going on with the case. But if you go by the charges, I think it was maybe like $100,000 that bail should have been set at.
Yeah.
Just from a legal standpoint, not like from a common sense standpoint.
Yep. Should
have been no bail, but you can't do that with the charges that she had right then.
Yeah. So,
then the lawyer says that the case right before hers got a bail of $1,000 on a misdemeanor. Yeah. But I would venture to say that maybe that person before her didn't have 2 missing kids and 2 dead spouses.
Yeah, and we know all this stuff prior to her getting there. I mean, the judge has to know she's lied.
Yeah.
I mean, the judge has to know everything in front of her.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, all that comes into play.
Right.
So he asked for $10,000 bail.
Oh, yeah. that didn't happen.
Yeah. Then he says she has no passport.
Right. And then the prosecutor jumps in and says that the abandonment has a penalty of up to 14 years. So these aren't small charges.
Yeah. Her lawyer says she was MIA for hours the day she was arrested. He says Idaho police were questioning her even though she had counsel.
I thought that was kind of an odd argument because at any point, Lori could say, I want to talk to my attorney or I'm not talking anymore. So to say she was missing in action for hours, I mean, she has a right to not talk.
Yeah.
Without an attorney there.
Yeah. As soon as she says attorney, they have to stop talking to her.
Right. And then the prosecutor also, her attorney says that the courts haven't said that she is a danger to the community. So he's arguing all for this lower bail.
Hello.
Yeah. Right. So obviously we know it was confirmed in the amount of $5 million. And so the next day on February 24th, after that hearing, Chad was there. Chad was at all her hearings in Hawaii, and then he was in the ones in Rexburg.
Yeah. So the 24th, Chad gets out of the lease for the condo in Hawaii.
Yep. And then on February 26th, Lori goes back to court to ask for lower bail. This is kind of, if you remember the first hearing, she was in her black top and her hair was still kind of fixed from the day, I guess, the day before that she got arrested. And then this hearing on the 26th, that's when we had the ramen curls.
Oh, yeah. And the Jolly Rancher lips.
Yeah. No. That was Rexburg. This one was, she had her glasses on. I'll post a picture of it.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so real quickly, the lawyer just says, of all the places Lori has lived in the last few years, she's actually resided the longest in Hawaii. And then he said that she isn't a flight risk because Idaho charged her after she moved, which he argued the move to Hawaii was planned before the charges were brought up. Yeah.
He says she's been under surveillance in Hawaii and got a lawyer, and she didn't flee. That they treat Lori as any other person facing Class B felonies and set bail according to Hawaii laws. Ignore the sensationalism.
Mm-hmm. And he also says in his 23 years of being an attorney, he's never seen a Class B felony. Okay, my tongue hadn't got the memo that we're doing a podcast. Sorry, guys. After 23 years of being a lawyer, he's never seen a Class B felony set for over $1 million. I would venture to say he's probably never seen a defendant like Lori Vallow.
Exactly.
So let's, you know.
He says if bail is reasonable, Lori would pay herself to go to Idaho, and Lori nods in agreement.
Yeah, and a few times in that hearing, she would nod. When they talk about the $5 million bail being excessive, she sort of purses her lips together and looks down and nods.
Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, we have court document after court document going back to early 2000 where she does not abide by any court order.
Right. So on the 26th, this is the same day that Lori was in court asking that her bail be lowered. Melanie Pulowski releases a statement saying that Melanie, she doesn't know where the kids are, and she had nothing to do with the attempt on Brandon's life.
Yeah, and I think that goes with, I think Brandon put out a statement saying that she did know.
Yeah, and it's also listed in their custody papers that she is a person of interest in his shooting.
Yes.
So I don't think I've ever seen like an official statement from police out there, but in the custody papers, Brandon says she is a person of interest.
Yep.
So on the 29th, Chad moves back to Rexburg.
Yeah, on March 4th, status conference before she is extradited. And then on the 5th, she's extradited back to Rexburg.
Yes. And we're going to put some pictures on this YouTube video. They kind of paraded her on the tarmac. And that's the only way you're going to get her on early and that kind of thing. And some people got videos of her being taken out of the holding room she was in inside the airport. And then the videos of her walking on the tarmac to the plane. And then if you remember, they kind of tricked the media.
Yep.
About her arrival, and some media members were understandably upset.
Yeah.
Because that relationship between media and law enforcement, it's very delicate. So when the media is told, here's what's going to happen, and then they sort of pull a trick, and she was supposed to fly in, I don't remember if it was Boise or Idaho Falls, but she was supposed to fly into one of those two places. And the trip to Rexburg from there by car would have been 4.5 hours. So the governor actually offered a private plane to get her there quicker.
Yep.
And I kind of get that. 4.5 hours with a high profile defendant probably isn't the best thing as far as safety goes.
Yeah.
So I kind of get why they did that.
Yep. But Nate and them figured that out, right?
They did. I think that they saw the van pull in, I believe, and then you see like a really super like millisecond glimpse of her.
Yeah, but I think Nate and them figured out the plane coming in.
Nate and them were there on the tarmac, if you remember, actually.
Yeah.
They were there.
In one of his videos, he talks about that. Mm-hmm. They figured out the flight plan and were some of the first ones there.
Is my tongue tie contagious?
No. You didn't ask me at the beginning like what I'd been doing. So I still have my great nephew, and he is one hyper little dude. He's 2.5, and
he's here right now. I'm surprised you guys haven't heard him.
Yeah, her kids are watching him. So, but he is he's just a wild little boy, and he's so busy, and he was up till like 1:15 last night. So this is like 2 times this week. It was 2:30 the other morning.
Ugh.
And last night it was 1:15. So that's why you see me like answering questions when you submit them. It's because I'm up because he's up.
Tell your parents to not let that kid like take a nap so late.
Well, he got up like at 4:15 yesterday. So I was like, oh, we'll be golden.
In the morning?
No. Like he had a nap from like 2:15 to 4:15. So I was like, oh, we'll be good. He'll be in bed, at least by 11. No.
How old is he? Almost 3?
Yeah, he's 2.5.
Time to eliminate that afternoon nap.
Well, when he falls asleep, like in the chair, I can't I don't want to be like, wake up.
Oh, no, you got to do it if you want to sleep at night.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I call you now, like if I have to call you in the evening or something, normally it's just Fruit Loop just can talk without any interruption. And now it's like, well, I was thinking, stop it, Darius. Stop it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. No,
Yeah.
no.
He'll be back with his mama this week. So
Yeah, that's good. He loves his Fruit Loop. So
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So where were we? On the 6th.
Yep. So March 6th, initial hearing in Rexburg. The bond was lowered from $5 million to $1 million. The state also confirmed that she was still receiving and spending Tylee's Social Security benefit money. That was when everybody was like, what? She's going to walk. She's going to post. She's going to post bail.
Yeah. Facebook was hopping that day. And
yes.
I really like Judge Edens. I think he's just, done a really good job of handling this case. But, yeah, I mean, I think he did what he had to do. I mean, in his mind, he's thinking, how can I not have to revisit this in the future?
Yeah.
And say that I did something wrong. So err on the side of caution. I'm sure at that point, prosecutors knew what their financial capabilities were.
Yep.
And probably knew at that point, because I think Chad only had $120,000 or $130,000 when Lori was arrested.
Yep.
So then you have to have the other $900-something or however much in assets.
Yep.
So I think Edens probably, by law had to do it, but then also knew, even at $1 million, I mean, she hadn't posted it yet.
Nope.
So we're almost finished with this for tonight. And then on March the 11th, it seems like yesterday, but we thought really something big was going to happen because they had this big meeting of the minds in Salt Lake City where representatives from all the different agencies, I guess Arizona, Idaho, the FBI, were all there. And they just talked about what they had found so far. It was just sort of let's start putting some puzzle pieces together and see where we're at.
Yep.
And, yeah. So the same day, what happens?
Means asked Edens be removed. He presided over the guardianship case with the Woodcocks for temporary custody of JJ. So he says it was kind of a prejudice thing to Lori.
Yeah. And so Edens agrees. And on the 13th, 2 days later, he disqualifies himself.
Yep. And then on the March 16th, 2 of Lori's 3 Rexburg lawyers resigned from her case. So 2 of the 3, I don't know what I said. So 2 of the 3 resign from her case. Mm-hmm. And we just think that was probably a money issue.
Could be.
Yeah.
And then on the March the 24th, that's when we get that first leak of that email from the FBI. I believe it was from the FBI about them being close to indicting Lori for Charles's murder. And so March 24th, we're now in August. I'm doing my finger counting. 5 months later, and I got it.
Take your shoes off.
I only need 5. I'm good. So 5 months later, this month is when we really kind of get confirmation that charges are coming. They're just not ready yet.
Yeah. On the 30th, March 30th day, the conversations between Means and Lori are recorded, and that was a whole issue.
Yeah.
But proved to be nothing. No. So then what else on the 2nd?
April the 2nd, if you remember, Mark Means asked for everything. He's asking for Tammy's autopsy. He's asking for, is things not related to the kids? So he really doesn't have a right now to ask for Tammy Daybell's autopsy or anything because there's been no charges from it. And so Wood was like, yeah, that ain't going to happen.
Okay, so I just want to be like a little kid in this, like I understand how it works. Like they ask for discovery and, whatever. But I just want to be like, find your stuff yourself.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
I know,
right? But Mark Means was asking for all these other cases that are being investigated and not for the current charge. He asked for what she was currently charged with, discovery, but he asked for the kitchen sink.
Yeah. hence the title of this podcast.
Yeah, we just kind of came up with that.
Yeah. So on April 10th, Tammy Daybell's case sent to the Attorney General. Possible charges: conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and murder.
Yep. And then on April the 29th, Chad's Rexburg lawyer quits. I saw him a few times at some of Lori's hearings with him. He kind of had short red hair. But that same day, Chad retains Mark Means, unbeknownst to Mark Means.
Yeah, and everybody else is like, what?
Yeah. Did you ever see Wood's face on when Mark Means said, "I've never represented him," and Mark Means is like, huh?
Yeah, it was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yep.
Yeah. So May 25th was JJ's 8th birthday.
Yep. And then on the 9th of June, the search warrant that produced the bodies of the kids, and still charged with destruction or concealment of evidence.
June 10th, Chad's first hearing, bond set at $1 million. Woods states one of the bodies was egregious.
Yeah, it was found in an egregious way, which is, as we know now, dismembered, burned, the abuse of her body after death.
Yep.
And then on the 13th of June, they positively ID the kids.
Yep. And then on July 22nd, everyone knows this one. The end of the world date comes and goes.
We're still here.
And we're here.
So there was a lot of stuff towards the end to be mixed in, but it's all pretty current stuff. And we've talked about it recently, so we didn't want to spend 20 minutes kind of refreshing anybody's memory about anything. But these older dates, you forget stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we wanted to do this. We have a lot of really new listeners that have told us, well, we kind of know what's up, but if you could run down the dates, it might help. So we're also going to do some YouTube videos where we sort of make graphics for these dates and do a who's who. And we got some big plans for YouTube.
Yeah. And we're also going to do like when we have time, pull out some of your questions. You guys ask a ton of questions and we love it. We do read them all. Some we don't. We just can't respond to every one of them, but we do read them. So we're going to try to do a little question thing. And real quick before we close out, we're just going to touch on this real quick. Because we've taken up a lot of your time.
Yeah. And somebody was really nice and said, I hate it when you guys say that.
I know, right? They're like, no, keep going. So one of the questions and one of the points somebody made, and it's like so good. Why would a prepper move to Hawaii?
A rich prepper, maybe.
Yeah, because everything there is expensive. The food's high, et cetera, et cetera. So why would they move to Hawaii? And that's a great point.
That's a really good point. It doesn't. I mean, most people move to Florida.
Yeah,
not Hawaii.
No.
But if you got a ton of money, move to Hawaii. I'd just build a bunker if I had a ton of money.
Yeah,
if I was really that worried about the apocalypse or whatever.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be the gatherers. They're supposed to gather.
Yeah.
Yep. Well. So one of the other ones was, did they get cell phones to track movement of both Melanies? We would assume that they've got it from everybody.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's anybody associated with this case that hasn't had all of their social media, phone pings, everything looked at. They're not going to miss any steps. That's why this has taken so long.
Yeah. And if you looked at, Nate put out a small little video today kind of showing the process of that. And it was pretty cool. It was probably 2 minutes?
Yeah. But
2 or 3 minutes.
But it's amazing what they can find. And I think that's where maybe the age of these people come into play, is that as you get a little older, you don't really keep up with how technology works. And I just can't believe that Alex would take his phone when he's burying the kids.
Well, yeah, and I ain't gonna lie. All these apps you get, they track you and you don't know it.
I swear I think the microphone on your phone tracks you, because I was telling my daughter not too long ago that I wanted to get a pair of Saucony shoes. And literally when I pull up my Facebook 10 minutes later, I've never searched for those kind of shoes online. There was an ad on my Facebook for Saucony shoes.
Yeah, it's in the agreement that you check that you don't never read. It says they access your microphone.
Look, they ain't going to find nothing really exciting in my life, but I've said this before, Fruit Loop, if anything ever happens to me, you have to get to the authorities and tell them my search history is not an indication I'm a lunatic.
No, I'm going to pull the quote from the movie Twister. Who are these people?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's all kind of apps that track you and you don't know it. I mean, people
Yeah.
don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Well,
Get a flip phone if you're worried about it, really.
there you go. And it probably still tracks you.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one was, what do we think Lori and Chad's pleas or their defense strategies will be? And we kind of talked about this a little bit. We definitely think if they don't roll on each other, they're going to blame Alex.
Yep.
But if one does roll on the other one, then we think Lori's will be, she was brainwashed and he convinced her to do all these things.
I think if they flip, Lori's going to go, he brainwashed me and Alex was in on it and Alex killed the kids. And then Chad is going to do the opposite and say, they set me up. It was her and Alex all along. They're going to flip. They've already flipped. I'm telling you right now, I would bet my right arm right now. Somebody's flipped. It's every man for himself.
Yeah.
There's
no
way
agree.
they're going to be, united in this.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 questions that we pulled.
We got like 1,000 more and we will get there.
Yeah. But you guys are asking great questions and making great comments, and we so appreciate you listening and asking and pointing things out. And
yes, it's everybody's very active on all of our social media pages, and we have a good time. We found some really old pictures of Chad that we have posted on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. These are middle school pictures of him.
Yep.
And I think he was an Eagle Scout, and he wrote a letter to Santa. And he's totally getting cold this year.
Yeah, exactly.
He has not been the good boy he was
in
the 70s,
Dude,
early 70s.
Yeah. And you look at that and you say, where are those people?
Yeah.
Like, what in the world?
Well, I mean, I think maybe it's a situation where if you look into like the psychology side of it, the fact that he was murdering, like, I don't want to say murdering, but he was killing 100 bees at a time and thought it was satisfying. I mean,
It was 120.
120, see?
Somebody commented on that about that. I said, I'm still trying to recover. And I still have more to go in that book, but I just hadn't dove into that again yet.
It's just that when you were reading that book, I would be over here and you would randomly say, oh my gosh, you've got to come read this.
Yeah. What a liar. Yeah.
Yeah. So Friday we'll be just on for that really quick hearing. Not going to be worth writing home about probably, unless he just, goes out in left field and says, I'm guilty. Don't think that'll happen. And we'll probably have another podcast by the end of the weekend, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
We'll keep digging. You guys keep throwing stuff out there.
Yeah. I think one of the things we had talked about was we really, really wanted to go back and get a written transcript of the call between Lori and Chad and Melanie and really break that down. So we may do that on the next podcast, or just shoot us some suggestions and we'll see what we can come up with and, try to make it something you guys want to hear about.
Yeah. And we've had, some friends and family reach out to us too. You want to talk a little bit about that, or?
We've just had some people close to the case contact us, and we appreciate it. We don't really, we're not going to communicate what has been told to us in confidence. It's not anything major. It does give us a little insight into personalities and how things were.
Yeah, and it helps us keep digging.
Right, but we don't tattle, and just it helps us to better understand these people away from the case. And so
when you get that insight, it helps tremendously.
It really does. So that's just we feel honored that people that know the players in this case feel like they can approach us and talk to us. And it's very nice. I mean, we try to be fair, and we've had people from all sides.
Yeah.
All the different families represented have contact, not direct family members for the most part, but we have had close acquaintances, and but we do protect our sources, and so
we just thank you guys for that, and for everybody listening.
Yeah, and just really too for trusting us, because sometimes a family member or a friend may inbox us to give us a little more insight into something we talked about.
Yeah.
To where, it just helps us understand. So we're just glad people trust us, and we don't say anything on here that's said to us that we're told we can't say.
Yeah. And there's so much like truth, and there's so many like just lies or, that people just made up. So when they can verify and say, yay or nay, then that helps us.
It really
lot,
does help. But I think that's kind of all we had.
We have taken up 1 hour and 6 minutes of your day.
It feels like we just sat down.
Yeah. No.
And thank you to the people that pointed out probably the reason I can't sleep is because of my coffee intake, but I'm just not going to sleep. I mean,
and they did mention melatonin. That was funny.
I have tried melatonin and it don't work. So I just lay there and watch Forensic Files, and every bump outside my window, I'm convinced somebody's coming to get me. And at 3 in the morning.
See, I'm an amazing sleeper. Like, I can sleep through anything except a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So
I mean, normally I don't have a problem sleeping. It's just the last few weeks. It's just I lay there, and it's probably like menopause. I mean, I'm through menopause, but you know how it gets if you're low on these hormones. And
you're old.
Your mama's old. Hey, Priscilla.
Yep. You better tell her. Yep.
Hey, mama.
Yep. So, well, thanks y'all for listening, and you have a good evening.
All right. See you later.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.